Hello everyone, this is Jason from Primetime Aquatics, and in this video we are going to be doing a product review. We are going to be reviewing this. This is a Python branded hand pump for a gravel vac, and there's some things I didn't know about it before I purchased it that I wish I had noticed. So we're going to talk about those things in this video, so stay tuned. So aquarium maintenance is a big part of keeping fish. Doing water changes is super important. There are a number of ways that you can do this. Some people, if their tank is small enough, might just dip a cup or a bucket into the tank itself and dump it right into the sink to do their water changes. Other people might use a gravel vac and use that gravel vac to put water from the tank into a bucket and then dump that bucket out into a sink. And still there are other people who use a very complicated, high-tech, and expensive auto water change system. In our fish room, we kind of have a combination of things going on. We generally use a gravel vac with a hose and a hand pump. That gravel vac goes into a wastewater system which eventually drains out into a floor drain. So these hand pumps, something like this, really allows us to get these gravel vacs started quickly, and we can do multiple tanks at the same time. Now, as you can imagine, when you've got 65 tanks up and running, you're probably going to want to run multiple gravel vacs. Thus, we were in the market for some new hand pumps for some of the gravel vacs that we had recently purchased. Now, this one here is a Python branded gravel vac. I'd never had one before. I had heard good things about the Python brands. I figured why not go ahead and give their hand pumps a try. I didn't really read any of the reviews, and so I want to go over some things here. So let's talk a little bit about how they work. The idea is you've got a gravel vac in the tank, you've got the hose outside of the tank. This hand pump would fit into here kind of like this. You'd squeeze this part, and the water would flow from the tank down the tube into the hand pump and eventually out. Now, there's a couple issues with this pump. First thing, this part works fairly well. You can push this in a little bit more than I have here. I'm just doing it for demonstration purposes. But this part here is relatively flexible. It can come out, it can leak relatively easily, and we actually experienced that happening. The second problem, and I think a much larger problem for those of you who are looking to take your gravel vac and your hose directly into a bucket, and especially if you don't want to hold the hose the whole time, is the other end of this hand pump. And this is, I think, one of the biggest problems. If you look at it, it's a different size. You can't put a hose over that. It can only go into it. It's really not made to have a hose exit the pump and go into a bucket. Now, that can be a problem for a lot of you who are looking, again, to have that water go from the tank and enter a bucket without having to hold the hose. This really doesn't accomplish that. What we did try is we tried to put a hose in. I went ahead and used some plumber's tape to kind of lock it into place, and then hose clamped it on both sides. It still really didn't work. I think the third issue with this hand pump is the suction itself is relatively poor. I found that this has far less suction to get water out of the tank than some of even the cheaper brands that you would find on the internet, things like the Aquarium systems and the top fin gravel vacs. This pump just really didn't work all that well. So I know I often like to give you good news in our product reviews, but I also want to share some information when products maybe aren't working quite as well as I had hoped. Again, this thing, $6 on Amazon, I would go ahead and take a pass. Either the top fins or the Aquariums, while the quality is probably about the same, at least they're going to get the water out of the tank a little bit more efficiently. We won't have to worry about these pieces snapping off quite as easily, and you can have a hose that goes from the hand pump to the bucket itself. I will put an Amazon affiliate link to the Aquarium system down below. We've used it before with some success, at least better success than this. You can also look at the top fin brands as well. I think both of them will go a long way in allowing you to start your gravel vac without having to suck on the hose to get the water started, which is kind of a gross experience, especially if you've ever had a mouthful of fish mauled before. So if you enjoyed this video, share, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.